It's a great honor to open this press conference, and as first I give a floor for President of Latvia, Andris Bērziņš.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to welcome the NATO Secretary General as well as the President of Lithuania and Estonia. First, I would like to mention that it was a great honor for me today to award the highest award of the Republic of Latvia, the Cross of Merit, to Anders Fogh Rasmussen, the Secretary General of NATO. Thus, it was a token of his great contribution to Latvia's development and security already for 22 years. Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen. Likewise, I would like to thank Mr. Rasmussen for his personal contribution to taking very important decisions for the Latvia and all the alliance, including the Chicago summit decision to continue the air policing in Latvia indefinitely. And this morning, as I met with the Secretary, we discussed different issues very important for the security of Latvia and the whole alliance. And we all know that in 2014, the operation in Afghanistan will be completed. And therefore, of course, we also discussed new ways of developing our cooperation between the armed forces of the allies. And of course, I was very glad to hear that we have very many ideas of how to cooperate in the future based on this concept of smart defense. Also, I emphasized the very successful cooperation that Latvia has established with Finland and Sweden, which are our closest partners among the NATO member states and also our close colleagues in Afghanistan. And the visit of the NATO Secretary General takes place at a very special time, because next year we will celebrate the 10th anniversary since we have joined NATO and the European Union. And we are already preparing for the next NATO summit, which will be held next year in the United Kingdom. And as a part of this preparatory process, we discussed different issues that are very important to be included in the agenda of this summit, and we also exchanged various ideas regarding the regional development. Among others, we shared our Latvian experience in cooperating and also strengthening the cooperation with the Eastern Partnership countries and also the Central Asian countries. Now we are in Ādaži, where NATO training Steadfast Jazz 2013 takes place, and I must say that I am gratified that Latvia, along other Baltic states and Poland, have the honor of hosting this event. And such training sessions have been organized already for 17 times, and tomorrow I will also closely follow this training in Poland. And along with the Steadfast Jazz in Latvia and Lithuania and Estonia, also the headquarters training Baltic Host 2013 also is taking place. I would like to express my gratitude to all the organizers of the training, first of all to Latvian National Armed Forces, as well as the other member states of the NATO and partner countries, and all the soldiers who have contributed to successfully conducting this training.
Paldies, thank you. Well, just a while ago I just tweeted Steadfast Jazz rocks, and I think that's more or less how we all feel about this right now, looking at such a great great unification of the desire, the capabilities, the will of the alliance. I'm really pleased to see what I see here, an operational, ready, capable alliance practicing one of NATO's core tasks, which is to defend the territory of the alliance. I'd like to also bring out the regional focus, which is important because this is actually, should be the guiding principle of any alliance that is as large in its territory as NATO is, and therefore I'm obviously pleased that the exercise is taking place in the Baltic region, which in turn helps us to make sure that interoperability functions the way we always imagine interoperability in NATO should function. It increases for our allies from further away the awareness of the situation and the geography here. And of course, this is all very natural since as we are entering the post-ISAF environment, we do need to, I think, refocus and ensure that we have regular exercises all over the territory of NATO, which includes, of course, North America as well. When I look back on the time since we joined NATO, and I spent a long time and lost a lot of hair, and the hair that remained turned gray trying to get my country into NATO, we were told that, well, it's very nice, but NATO is a supertanker, and to change the course of NATO is going to be rather difficult for you. Looking back on the past 9.5 years, as the President mentioned, we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of joining. We see that, in fact, it is quite possible to effect change within NATO. I'd like to once again recognize the Secretary General for his great work in really getting planning done for our region, and I think all of us in the region are very grateful for your contribution to this, which we in Estonia, certainly speaking for my country, think is one of the great accomplishments of your tenure. So thank you. So we've managed to change the course of the supertanker. Unfortunately, thanks to the geography of Denmark, we have supertankers in the Baltic Sea, but no carrier battle groups yet. We'll have to make smaller carriers. So I'd like to thank everyone who is participating. I'd like to thank, again, the Secretary General. I'd like to thank all of the wonderful people in NATO who are here and who have worked so hard to make this a success, even if they aren't here today. This is the culmination of a long process, and I think you should all know how much this genuinely means to those of us in the region, and that's why I said Steadfast Jazz rocks.
Thank you. Mrs. Grybauskaite, President of Lithuania.
Thank you. Of course, today I can say it is quite a historic day for us, because after practically 10 years of membership, really we achieved a lot. Today, and yes, last year we decided on defense plans, and decision was unanimous in Chicago. Today we can see that after a very short period of time, we are capable to deliver. We're capable to say that decisions are implemented. And it is regional, and we have 3 Baltic presidents here. And it is symbolic as political support for such kind of activity. And we know that this experience now in Baltic states and Poland will be used also for any part of our territory, of our lives, if it will be necessary. But of course the name of Steadfast Jazz was a surprise a little bit for all of us, and improvisation of my colleague from Estonia, of course, says that, yes, we're seeing this exercise as open, as smart, and only defensive. That means anybody can join together with us and rock together with us. We are not afraid to anybody. We are happy that we can defend ourselves and we can do it on all our territory. And I want also to thank very much everybody who did this possible. And of course, General Secretary personally, for his involvement, his understanding, because in the very beginning it was not easy to explain what we are so eager to achieve and what we want after we came and talked in the very beginning 4 years ago. So now it is happening, and I'm congratulating all of us for this day and for tomorrow that we were able to achieve it.
Thank you, Secretary General.
It is indeed a great pleasure to be here in Latvia and to watch the deployed headquarters of the 2014 NATO response force in action. And I would like to thank Latvia and you, Mr. President, for acting as one of the hosts of Steadfast DAS, NATO's biggest exercise this year. And I would also like to thank the presidents and the people of Estonia and Lithuania for their strong and determined commitment to our alliance. The NATO response force is the spearhead of this alliance, a rapid reaction force that can defend any ally, deploy anywhere, and deter any threat. Every year we test it on land, at sea, and in the air to make sure that all parts of the force are up to this demanding mission. So I thank Latvia for playing such a key part in making sure that the NATO response force is ready for action. But this exercise is about more than just certifying the NATO response force for another year. It is also about building the future of NATO, a future in which our forces work together seamlessly, no matter which country they come from. And this is the goal of what we call the Connected Forces Initiative, an ambitious series of training and exercises to keep us ready for anything, even the unexpected. And the NATO response force will be at the center of this initiative. So by hosting this exercise now, you are helping to shape the future of this alliance for many years to come. At the same time, you are playing your part in making European defense stronger. And that is the aim of next month's European Council. And I look forward to seeing effective steps in that direction. And next year, as Latvia takes over the presidency of the European Union, you will lead the efforts to put the Council decisions into effect. And I look forward to seeing effective steps in that direction, because a stronger Europe means a stronger NATO. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear colleague journalist, floor is yours. Please. Speak in a microphone.
Thank you. Vaidas Saldžiūnas, Lietuvos Rytas Daily. I have a question, two questions actually, small questions for the Secretary General and Madam President. This is not the first NATO exercise in the Baltic countries. Used to be more, but those used to be rather the peacekeeping exercises, more conventional, rather defensive nature, and exercising Article 5. So the question is, before 2008 at least, it was quite unimaginable that such exercise could happen in the Baltic states. So what has changed? Why is it being held, this defensive nature, in the Baltic states? And the second part of the question is, could the shrinking defense budgets of the NATO members, especially particularly some, endanger the effectiveness of NATO and the NRF? Thank you.
Nothing has changed The fact is that we conduct a series of exercises, Steadfast exercises. Actually, we have held 17 exercises in that series in 14 different countries. This time, the Baltic states and Poland offered to host, and it's quite natural that such exercises can take place all over NATO territory. I can inform you that we have already started planning for a major exercise to take place in 2015, and that exercise will take place in the southern parts of Europe, hosted jointly by Italy, Spain, and Portugal. So it's just a testament to collective efforts within our alliance that exercises can take place all over NATO territory. The second part of your question about budgets, obviously shrinking budgets are a matter of concern. That's why when I visit capitals, I encourage governments to make sure that their budgets are sufficient to acquire necessary military equipment in the future, so that NATO stays fit for purpose also in the future. In that respect, I am happy that Estonia has already achieved the 2% benchmark for defense investments. I am equally pleased that in my political engagement with governments and parliamentarians in Lithuania as well as in Latvia, strong commitment has been expressed to gradually move towards this 2% benchmark. So I see a strong will in this part of our alliance to invest a sufficient amount of resources in a modern defense.
If to add a little bit, of course there is some differences why these exercises are especially now here, because we were talking about extension of defense plans for all territory of Alliance, and this is happening now. And you know that we have been trying to push for this already before Chicago summit, and in Chicago we got everything we wanted with the new strategy of NATO. So today it is what we're seeing is real implementation of the political decisions and military decisions in NATO. Now on financial resources and budgets, yes, in absolute figures in all countries budgets are increasing. Of course, if we look in not absolute by percentage, that's more difficult question. But the main thing also is not about quantity always, I am saying. It's about quality of spending and about smart spending.
Thank you. Next question.
Imants Vīksne, neatkarīga avīze.
Imants Vīksne, my question is addressed to Mr. Rasmussen. Throughout the year, this Zapad training was compared with Steadfast jazz. And is the story or the agenda behind these two trainings is different, or whether one of them can be regarded as more aggressive? Thank you.
Well, let me stress that our exercise, Steadfast Jazz, is not a response to the Sabbath 13 exercise. We started planning our exercise long ago, and the specific purpose of our exercise is to test our NATO response force. It is to further develop the ability of our armed forces to work and operate together. And of course, it is also a visible sign of our determination to be ready to defend our allies. So these are the specific purposes of our exercise, and it's not a response to Sabbath 13.
Please, the next question.
Denis Dubrovin, Itartas News Agency. My question is for the presidents of the Baltic states. Dear presidents, after your states have joined NATO, there were many demands for the military planning to better defend the territory of the Baltic states from the threat from the east. Now these plans, Guardian Eagle, are in place, and during this exercise, NATO forces are repelling the invading forces from Bosnia, which is the largest world depositor of oil and gas. So I would like to ask you, do you feel that your request for more safety and more defense planning is fulfilled? Thank you very much.
Yes.
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 Please, the next question.
Anila Basha from Albania, from Mr. Rasmussen. Mr. Secretary General, there are only 20 countries. Yes, I'm here. There are only 20 countries that are in this Steadfast jazz. The other countries are not invited, or what? Of NATO?
All NATO allies are involved, one way or the other. One part of the exercise is what I might call a headquarters exercise, and that's part of the NATO command structure, and all 28 allies are part of that. So all 28 allies participate one way or the other. On top of that, some allies participate in a live exercise, and it's quite normal that not all allies participate in all live exercises. Let me remind you in that respect that all NATO allies, one way or the other, are participating in what I would call a real exercise on a daily basis in Afghanistan. So no, you shouldn't doubt determination and commitment among NATO allies. And on top of that, I appreciate very much that we have participation from three partners, Ukraine, Sweden, and Finland. So that's also a testament to what I would call cooperative security.
Thank you. More questions?
Adrian Croft from Reuters. I'd like to ask a question of the presidents of Latvia and Estonia, please. Are you concerned by Russia's planned sharp increase in defense spending? And even if this exercise, Steadfast Jazz, is not a response to the recent Russian exercise, do you think that it at least sends a useful signal to Moscow of NATO's resolve to defend this region?
I don't really see this as a response in any way, given this was planned a long time ago. I do see a lot of propagandistic hay being made out of a very small, in relative terms, defensive exercise, which is about, in terms of troop numbers, 1/10 of a recent offensive exercise carried out in our neighborhood. So, I mean, sometimes it's actually ludicrous and humorous to look at some of the propaganda hay being made out of this rather small exercise in comparison to other exercises in the region by other people. Am I concerned about this? I would say I'm not concerned. I'm rather perplexed. It doesn't really seem to make sense to me. But then again, I mean, we who are accountable to an electorate democratically, we have to work hard to get public opinion behind increased defense expenditures.
Though, in my opinion, Mr. Rasmussen gave a very precise answer, and I agree completely with him. About Latvia, we are members of the strongest alliance in the world. We have so good and strong partners. We are very actively working to improve, and this is the best basis, but it's necessary to act permanently and trying to find the best ways how to use existing resources. And this happens permanently, and we feel not less safe than any other country in our alliance.
Thank you. More questions?
Andrew Tatarchuk, News Today, Latvia. Mr. Anders Fogh Rasmussen, Your Excellency, can you say that situation with Bashar Assad, with Syria, it's a never-ending story? It's a simple question.
In Syria? Hopefully, the story will end sooner rather than later. Hopefully, this horrendous bloodshed will be stopped very soon. Having said that, I also realize that there is no military solution to the conflict in Syria. As I see it, there's only one way forward, and that is a political process and a political settlement that can pave the way for a long-term, sustainable political solution to the conflict. In that respect, I hope the joint American-Russian initiative to organize an international conference will materialize, and I urge all parties, both government and opposition in Syria, to participate. They owe it to the Syrian people, because this is the only way to find a solution to that terrible conflict.
Thank you. Please, next question.
Paul Kruger, Süddeutsche Zeitung from Germany. Thank you very much. I wanted to follow up on the question of my colleague from Reuters regarding signaling towards Russia. Could the three presidents of the Baltic states please address how important this exercise is to signal to Russia the strength and also the decisiveness of the alliance in defending against any external threats, and maybe also for the Secretary General, how important is this in signaling to Russia? You mentioned that the planning was made previously, but I mean the exercise is being held in an environment that is getting increasingly tough for countries here in the region.
I see this exercise only as test of our readiness to fulfill all obligations to NATO. And really 10 years are almost over, and I hope results will be fully successful, proving that we are on the right track, and there is the best answer showing that we are strong.
Let me say, I think signaling is kind of really a fourth order derivative issue. I mean, this exercise is being conducted to actually test what NATO can do on the ground, and that's the whole point of it. And that is really the first, second, and third point. I think when it comes to signaling, if there's anyone that the exercise is sending a signal to, it's to the people in the population of NATO member states, and especially to the population of the four countries most heavily involved, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland, that in fact NATO is a serious organization that is doing things. What other people think of it, well, that's for someone else to worry about, but I don't see any kind of, I mean, at least my mind does not work in sort of fifth degree higher calculus on what someone else might think about something that we are doing for ourselves.
If shortly, I can say only one word. It's about confidence, nothing else. That what matters for us, we are confident that we can defend ourselves together with our allies. That's it.
It is, of course, a signal of military strength and determination to defend our allies. It's not a signal to any specific country. Of course, it's a signal to anyone who might have any intention to attack a NATO ally, but I don't expect Russia to have any intention to attack NATO allies, so the Russians shouldn't be concerned. So you might say that it's a signal to whom it may concern.
One more question, please.
If I may, 2 short questions. Now, from what I observe at the moment, this exercise lacks 2 little things. The power of NATO is America and air power. Now, we see very little of American involvement in this exercise, and we see no air power at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why is that so? And the other question would be, Baltic states has, after the Georgian war, asked for defense plans. That was supported, and it seems like a great idea. Now, would Baltic states support the idea of prepositioning equipment in the Baltic states of other NATO countries? Thank you.
The best is you about US, and we can't respond about.
I could take the first part of it. I mean, about the exercise. If I understand your question correctly, your question whether this is really a joint exercise including both land, sea and air forces. It is a joint exercise, and we will exercise both at sea, in the air and on land.
The US participants,
there's also US participation. There is US participation, which we highly appreciate, obviously. And furthermore, I can tell you that the United States has decided to rotate a military unit to participate in the NATO response force in the future. And that will contribute to further strengthening of the NATO response force. So it's a testament to US commitment to European security.
First, let me say that the head of Supreme Allied Command Europe, Kerr, who is an American, is sitting in this room right now. So he's the boss. So I wouldn't really, I don't see how you can say the Americans are not here. But anyway, on the issue of forward pre-positioning of equipment, sure. I mean, but the question is there a need for that? But that's a separate issue. But in terms of all allies, of course, I mean, that's part of the deal. I mean, you do everything. It's not a Chinese menu where you take 1 from column A and 2 from column B. I mean, you do what needs to be done. If it is determined that that is in the interest of the alliance, then it will be done. At this point, I mean, we have a very, if not the most modern air base in Europe, military air base in Europe. I mean, we're perfectly happy with that. But if there's more that NATO decides is necessary, why not?
It depends what kind of equipment you mean. Already we have a lot of equipment even here, so it depends. And if it will be necessary, it will be whatever necessary to defend our territories.
Yeah, now we have very concrete defense plans, and when necessary, they will be adjusted accordingly.
Thank you. And the last question.
Imants Vīksne from Independent Daily Paper. Could Latvia renew the mandatory military service based on Estonian experience? I don't think so. Latvia switched to professional army, and I think that was the right choice. Since we have already had some experience in what are the demands or requirements for professionalism and the quantities of the soldiers, I believe that we are on the right course, and I don't see any grounds for changing this concept in Latvia, because given the level of sophistication and the requirements from a modern army, it seems like the model of professional army for Latvia works out very good, and we shouldn't change anything about it.
Thank you for your attention.